Hello everybody and welcome to my tutorial. Today I'm going to be talking about how to download and use a program called Mineways with Cinema 4D. Now what Mineways is, in case you don't know what it is it's a program that allows you to extract the scene from your Minecraft game and then import it into a 3D program like Cinema 4D or send it out for 3D printing. Now this tutorial is going to cover how to import it into a 3D program and do renders like this here. You can see here we have these very Minecraft looking objects. This is from Minecraft, and then we can see that we have this water and the light here that I did in Cinema 4D to give it a new look. So without further ado, what you're going to need to do is go to mineways.com. Now I'm going to put a link in the description to this webpage, in the description of this video, so you should be able to get right here real easy. And what you're going to do is download either for Windows or for Mac. For me, I'm on Windows. I'm going to click download for Windows. And the download's going to start up. And it's a pretty quick download. It's only going to take about 8 seconds. And I'm just going to pull this over. And what you're going to do is you're going to navigate to your downloads page here in your folder. And you're going to click on that right there to open that up however you'd like. And you're going to go to downloads. And here is the Mineways file. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to do right click and do extract all, and I'm going to extract it all right here into this folder. I'm going to do it messy. You can extract it wherever you'd like, but for me I'm going to do it right here. And right off the bat we're about ready to go. What you're going to do is you're going to see here's the extracted file, here's the zipped one. We're just going to delete that, we don't need that anymore. And we're just going to open this up by double clicking once, and you can see we're greeted by all these different files. Now this can be very confusing the first time you see it and you're not too sure what to click on, but that's okay because that's what I'm going to guide you through. Right here, these are the only two things you really want to worry about clicking on right now. And this is Mineways 32 and plain Mineways. This one is the 64-bit version and this one is the 32-bit version. I would recommend using the 64-bit version when you can, but there is some issues with it I've run into where I found the 32-bit version to run better. To start though, let's continue with the 64-bit. So to launch, we're just going to double click this icon. You don't need to install anything or anything like that at all. And Windows may say Windows protected your PC. We're going to do more and we're going to say run anyway. Don't worry, it's completely safe and there is no problems. And then your security system may have a problem and you're going to say run this program anyway, even though it's having these issues. It is a little scary, but don't worry. There's nothing actually bad happening. Once we get through all that, we have Mineways right here, and it opens this little program. Just to show you again, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to again double click on the Mineways 64-bit version right here. It's going to open this up like this now that we bypassed all those warnings. And basically what you need to do now is just click here on File. And this is going to let you, keep your mouse over here on File. You can also scrub over to the different things over here. And what you're going to do here on File is you can go hover your mouse over Open World. And what this is doing is it is finding the locally saved Minecraft worlds. Here's Daily World, the first world on the Black Pearl. Let's name my computer, New World, Test World, Find Your World. That if you do this one, it'll actually let you pick a world and find one. But these are basically Minecraft saved files on your computer. So if you start Minecraft and you open a level and you play around in it and you save it, it's going to be put into that. So Mineways automatically knows where to look for that and finds that for you. So you just go through here. I'm going to do the first world on the Black Pearl because I know that's a good map. I'm just going to click and you're going to notice some flashing, and that's because my push to talk is interfering with that. But if I take my mouse off, then you won't see that won't be a problem. But that's just because my push to talk, it really doesn't do that normally. It is changing the water for some reason. It's a refresh issue, but don't worry about that. We can just ignore that for now. But basically, we have our map now loaded in. We have the entire Mineways has loaded in our Minecraft map. This is a top-down view. So if I click and drag around, you can see we get a very good perspective of the entire map. I can zoom in really far actually and then zoom back out, and we can just pick a spot where we'd like to capture. Now you can see here it cuts off. This is because the only files are here is Minecraft is a procedurally generated world, meaning as your player flies throughout the scene, you're going to load more and more of the map. It's going to be generated in. This is a place where I've never actually been to in the game, so it hasn't loaded it in. So a good practice is fly around in Minecraft and find the area you want to capture first, and then that'll be an area that's kind of run off by itself, and that will be like you can then come back in here and then find that area. But for the sake of this tutorial, let's capture some of this little water area and some of this landscape here. And here's how we're going to do that. Now we're going to right click and drag over this, and that's going to highlight the area we're going to capture. And when I held down and pulled and then I let go, it pulled that to that spot, and then it popped up this warning thing here. And what this is saying is some blocks in your selection are visible below the current depth of 62. So if I click yes, it's going to change my lower depth and max height to different numbers. See watch what'll happen here? There we go, it just changed that. So now I'm selecting more blocks. And what this means is Minecraft is 260 blocks high, or I believe it actually, yes, that's how high it can go. And we can actually pull this to change what depth of the Minecraft world we're pulling out. And if I pull this here, we're getting max height. And if I pull this up, you can see we're getting less and less, and we're pulling less of that landscape in. See, like, that's getting more or less of that. But since I pulled my lower depth down low enough, if I pull it up to here, we're actually getting nothing. There's nothing that high in the sky. But if I pull it low enough, we can get more stuff. So I think it was 256 was the good number. Yep, 256 is what we're going to go with. So for height, we are tall enough to get the biggest mountains. And for depth, we are low enough to encompass all the ground. So now that we have this selected, we have two options that we can go for. Now, the one option is just leaving everything as it is, which is fine, and it'll work perfectly on the 64-bit model. But the other option I want to talk to you about too is if we go to File, Set Terrain File. And this means, as in the regular game of Minecraft, how you can import textures. You can have texture packs and stuff, change the way that Minecraft looks. You can do the same thing with Mineways. And just handy as it is, Mineways actually comes with its own set of texture packs. If I double click one of these images, you can see here we actually have some texture packs. And if I click this arrow, we can navigate through the different types of texture packs. Notice these are bigger. Look how much bigger this one, look how smaller this one is compared to this one. This is because this is an HD texture pack. And we can keep navigating through the different ones till we find one we like. This is a standard plain color. Some people use this a lot for printing that they really like. Or this one's a standard plain color with only a few different things. Like all kinds of options we can go through. One of my favorites is the Terrain EXT Modern HD. That one is much bigger than the standard one and is a very nice texture pack. But without further ado, what we can do then is just by clicking File, Set Terrain File, it's going to open this up automatically, it knows where it is, and we can select the one we want. So if we select, per se, the Modern HD one, and I click Open, everything will be fine. But if we click File then, and this is how we're going to export, after we have everything set, we have that set, we have our file set, we're going to go to File, Export for 3D Printing. And it's going to open this up. And I'm going to just save this in my download folder. It's going to be messy, but it'll keep it, for now, it'll be easier to keep track of. And we'll call this Test HD. So we'll know this is the HD one that we're trying to export. And if I click Save, it's going to pop up this very kind of intimidating dialog box, but that's okay. This is just different settings for how we're going to the biome size and the height and the depth that we've already preset. The OBJ file export options, export with no materials, richer materials, color textures. I always usually do export full color texture patterns. That's the one I usually like to go for. And then we can just click OK. This is the glitch that'll happen because we ran the 64-bit. So we'll click abort, it just will continuously not work and it will not export. So what we're going to do first is we're going to double click on Mineways. We're going to launch it just like we did before. We're going to click File, going to go to Open World, and we're going to do Black Pearl, just like we did before. We're going to select a map, just ignoring that blinking there like we did before. This is the spot we want to capture. We're going to grab up here. We're going to ask yes, what we'd like to capture all that. Click yes. It lowered that down for us. And this time, we're not going to set a file. We're not going to do that. We're going to use the standard one that our Minecraft world was already generated with. So we're just going to go to File, Export for Rendering. We're going to click that, and we're going to call this Test SD. This will be the SD one, Standard Definition. We'll click Save. We have all this like we need. We'll click OK. It's going to process, and when that bar goes all the way across and disappears, we're done. So if I close Mineways and I go back to my Downloads folder, you can see we're presented with these files here. We have our OBJ, our MTL, which is designed for some other programs. For Cinema 4D, though, we'll be using the OBJ, and here's our different pictures. Just to keep this more organized, we're going to create a folder and title this folder Test SD. And we're going to take all these files and we're going to stick them inside of there. Now, before we continue, I'm also going to make another one. Go back into Mineways, and this time we're going to launch the 32-bit version. Double click that. Windows is also going to have an issue again. We're going to have to run anyway. Then Norton will have a problem, which we can run this program anyway. It's very safe. And we're going to have this. Now what we can do is we're going to do File, Set Terrain File. You can do this either before or after you load the map in. Doesn't matter. And I'm going to choose the HD one and click Open. Now that we have that set, we can go to File, Open World, Black Pearl, just as we did before. We're going to navigate back up to that same spot right here. Right click, pull around, and click yes. Then we're going to do File, Export for Rendering, and we're going to have to choose a new area. And I'm going to go to my Downloads area. I'm going to make a new folder and call this Test HD. So that's Test HD. Then I'm going to go inside that and click Save. Or whoops, actually you don't want to go inside that, you just want to click on it and then choose the file name as Test HD. You can go inside it, then type in Test HD. So whoops, I messed it up a little bit. Here's what you do. You'll click well, let's just redo that. We'll actually do File, then we'll do Export for Rendering. We'll go to Downloads. We have our folder here. We're going to go in that and we're going to title this Test HD. Then we're going to click Save. It's going to pop up this dialog box. We're going to press OK. It's going to export a little bit slower because we are in HD. It's going to take a little bit, and that's okay. And boom, then it'll disappear, and we got it. So now we can close this down, and we're going to go back to our Downloads folder. We can click that right here, and we can see we have Test HD and Test SD. I can't talk. What we're going to do first now is I'm just going to pull this over to the left, and we're going to start up Cinema 4D. So we're just going to click this here. Going to launch that right there. Takes a little bit of time to load up. I have a lot of plugins inside of it. Continue. Yours won't have that dialog. I'm just in the beta for iRay, so that is something that pops up I need to agree to. But now that we have it open, what we can literally do is let's do our SD test first. We're going to double click, and we're going to take the OBJ file, and we're just going to drag it into our scene. Or, reversely, we can do File, Open, and just pull that right in. But I find it much easier just to drag the OBJ right in like that. And here's my recommendation. When it ports it into the scene, you want import normals on. And here's another very important thing, is you're going to be in centimeters by default, which is okay, but you want to set your scale to something around 100 at least, because it comes in extremely small. So now that we have that set, we're just going to press OK. And here we go. You can see we have a very unique shape that's very similar to what we're used to. And if I create a cube, you can see that we're still at a pretty decent scale. So 100 is actually a decent number. It's still a little kind of small considering the environment we're making, but all in all, it's not really bad. You can make it bigger or smaller. Now, one thing you may notice is like, well, there's no textures, and we just did all that work trying to import them. Well, the way this works to get our textures in is what you're going to do is you see all these different textures down here, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to select this one, and then we're going to hold down left shift, and we're going to select this one. So now we have them all highlighted. Now we're going to make sure over here we're in our color manager, and right here we have this. Now I'm going to pull back up that folder right here. And here inside SD we have these three images. We have the alpha, we have the RGB, and the RGBA. Now, what alpha and RGB are in difference is that the alpha will just be used for the alpha black and white image, and RGB will just be for the color. RGBA has both of that informations in there, which I really like using that. So you can use these other twos if you want, but it gives you options, which is very nice. For me, I want to use the RGBA, so I have the image and the alpha. So I'll drag the color over, and instantly you can see that, as soon as I get that out of the way, that we now have colors. We have actual picture quality. And if I click render, you can see we look very, very close to what Minecraft looks like, except for down here you'll notice that our flowers are really chunky. And that's because these are done with alpha channels. This is a picture projected on a thin polygonal plane like this right here. So the way we do that is our textures are still selected. If they weren't, just click one, left shift, and then select them all. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to basics, and we're going to turn on alpha, and that's right down here. We're going to turn that on. We're going to go to alpha, and here we have a texture for that. And over here in that same folder, we can take that same RGBA image, pull that onto there, and now when we take a look, you can see our flower looks very different. And if I render, it looks like it should. So now we have that properly there. So basically this is all good to go, and you can see our geometry is actually very clean and cut off right there at the bottom. It's a very nice cut, well done. And it's actually like not solid blocks. The program already did the work for hollowing this model out, so it's also extremely light. It does an incredible job, and you can see that the trees are now have an alpha with them as well. So when I render, we can see through the trees. Now this texture looks kind of odd, and that's because we also have specular on. So if I go to color or basics and I turn off my reflectance, you can see we're getting not those specular highlights anymore. It's much better. And if we add light, it could look way better. But this is the basic concept of getting this in here. Now for the HD one, I'm just going to do Control N and load in a new scene. And here on our folder, if we go back to our downloads, we have our test HD. And we have these new folders, these same files that were generated, except these are high res. So you can see this is a much more higher resolution and different looking. So I can take the same concept, pull my OBJ file out, set that to 100, press OK. It's going to load it in, same environment. We're going to do the same process. We're going to select this texture and this texture, go over to our color, open up that folder, take our RGBA, drag that down there, and instantly you can see that we do have color now, and our colors are very, very different. You can see that with this particular texture pack, it turned our water brown, which is very interesting. It's like a murky, muddy water, and there is so many different options that you can do within these texture packs that they supply you. That is, it's really cool to kind of just play around and experiment and see, like the grass, trees. It looks very interesting. Like apparently for this texture pack, the water is wood, which is a pretty good looking wood actually. But that's a very interesting texture idea. And we can do the same thing by going to basic and then going down to our alpha, hopping over here and pulling in that same RGBA image and pulling that onto our alpha. Pull that out of the way. And here you can see if we click render now when we're near some of these trees, you can see we can see through them, and there's actually an alpha channel. The same thing too is I believe there was a plant over here. Yep, here we go. Here's some plants. There's a nice pretty flower. We can take a look at that. You can see the quality difference. You can see how much more sharp this is. It's a much more high resolution image, which makes it really handy. Now what is also extremely cool that you can do, I'm not going to really show this in this tutorial, but I'm just going to mention it, which is it's a lot of fun, is here's our RGBA image. This is the one designed for our alpha. I wouldn't recommend editing on. I would recommend the RGB one. Then we're not going to interfere with our alpha at all. And with this, we could actually paint, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, we could actually paint on this object. Meaning, for like this stone here, or these materials, you could hop into Photoshop and paint little details on them. And that tiling and paint, or whatever you would do to each tile, would affect the entire game. So like right here, you could paint the front of your box to have like your name on it, or paint this grass here in Photoshop, or anything like that. And it would apply that same texture. Just make sure you don't alter the size or anything. Keep it the same. Port it in, edit it, and port it out exactly the same. And always keep a backup of the original. But it has a lot of possibilities for a lot of different options. But there you go. This has been the tutorial on how to export a Minecraft world with using Mineways, and how to install Mineways and import it and edit it in Cinema 4D. Yep, there you go. You have all that, and of course you can easily just build a light, pull it up, pull it over, lift it in the air. I'm going to set the shadow to area, and let's just pop down here, and we'll hit render. And there you go. You have shadows and all this going on here, and you could do anything you really would want with it. But thank you very much for watching this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. If you did find this tutorial helpful, please leave a thumbs up. If you found it unhelpful, please leave a thumbs down. And feel free to leave a comment in the, underneath the video description if you have any other questions or anything else you'd like to state. Also, feel free to check out my website at epicjcreations.com, where you can find more tutorials like this and some examples of my work. Yep, just click in the top right corner of this video, and it'll be a little white dot up there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have found this helpful. Goodbye.